Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. One of the hottest trends in craft beer these days is using local ingredients as much as possible. There are even a few breweries using entirely locally grown grain, hops, and even yeast. A lot of brewers use other local additions from honey to fruit to locally roasted coffee. It's all not so easy in South Dakota.
For as big of an agrarian state, as big as an agricultural culture that we have here, we can't actually get our hands in the 605 on every component that we need. We can get partial components. They can be grown here, but there are some limitations to actually making a true 605 beer. Now, it has happened, and it is a process, but there are some things that we are not prepared to handle yet.
That's Seth Cook from Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings. There are some hops grown in South Dakota. More on that later. The hardest to obtain South Dakota grown ingredient, probably malt, the barley. Just isn't much malted barley being grown and processed in South Dakota.
Most of it's grown in North Dakota or over into Montana and even up into Canada there.
A little bit of Minnesota, too.
A little bit of Minnesota. So that is called malting barley, and it's very specific. Barley, if you were to grow it and it's not accepted by a maltster, becomes feed barley, and there's a dramatic change of price between what the value of your crop would be when you have a malting barley, or if it's rejected the value of crop that you have for a feed barley. Obviously, there's an inherent risk to that. Not that there's anything guaranteed in farming anyway, but that adds another level of risk.
Once you grow the barley, it has to be malted. That is, ready to be turned into the beer.
We do not malt our own barley here at the brewery. We have a number of malt stirrers throughout the nation that do it for us. And what that is, without getting too technical, basically what that is it's an intermediary process that takes and converts, or at least starts the conversion of the starches in the barley into sugars that we can use. Pretty complicated. There's a lot of things that can be introduced into the process to tease flavors out. After they malt it, they can actually roast it or kiln it in different ways. They can dry it. And so you can really start pulling the different flavors out of the different beers.
As far as we know, there are no maltsters in South Dakota. It's a labor-intensive and space-intensive process. Interestingly, the discussion is getting started on maybe providing South Dakota brewers with South Dakota grown and processed malted barley.
The South Dakota Department of Agriculture has reached out to the brewers, and we've at least started a elementary discussion on what it would mean. How would something like that, how could we add some value-added agriculture back into the system here and provide a service that could not only benefit the brewers of the state, but also benefit the producers. And that's a long conversation because you have to use a lot of malt to make any, just like in any agriculture, any business, you have to use your equipment a lot to make sure it makes sense on them.
The farmers have to know if they're going to convert some acres to barley, that it's going to be worth doing it.
That's true. That's true. There's always the opportunity cost of growing corn and soybeans, which we grow a lot of. Turning that into barley is a risk.
More on brewing with the local ingredients when Beer Untapped continues.
Send out for a bucket of beer and let's have a party 'cause all the gang is here.
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller as we discuss locally sourced ingredients for craft beer and the challenges of doing that in South Dakota. There are hops being grown in this state on a limited basis. Growing hops is kind of a risky venture to begin.
The hops are pretty risky on the agricultural side because to put a hop in, you have to put trellis. So think of structures. These are vines. These are like grapevines, except much, much, much taller. And then hop plants, you have to get the rhizome, so it's a root. You have to get the rhizome, plant that in the ground, and you usually don't you don't have a yield in the first year. So you're going to build a bunch of trellis work, you're going to put it in the ground, commit to one variety of hop, and let that grow. Hopefully The second year, you'll be able to actually take some money out on that. And also there's a production cost after that. Not only do you have to find a way to get them to pick them, there's called wolf pickers, there's other things, other equipment that's extremely expensive, or you could just labor pick them.
And picking them by hand is very labor intensive. Despite these obstacles, there are efforts underway to commercially grow hops in South Dakota.
Down around the Sioux Falls area, I know they've done it around Spearfish. They've got some of this equipment in place and have some hop yards that are a couple years old now, so they're actually producing. I know Crow Peak out in Spearfish uses local hops as often as they can get them, so it's a cool opportunity for us to use a local grown ingredient. Still some barriers of entry to use them exclusively.
There is a functioning yeast lab in the state located in Sioux Falls. They also do chemical testing for brewers, and there are some brewers in the area, including Brow Brothers over in Marshall, that grow their own hops. Wooden Legs has already used some local ingredients, and they plan to continue to do so.
Strawberries we've done. We do coffee when we can. One of our super popular beers was our Drink Local Ale, and those were hops grown on one of our patrons' sheds, deliberately, not just wild hop. He's very good at curating them and taking care of them for us. We picked those and put those in a beer.
Which was fabulous.
Which was great. We love to do that. But again, none of these items are super scalable. They don't have to be. We do it here because we like making a Brookings beer. We don't just make South Dakota beer. We make Brookings beer. So we try to incorporate as much of the local resources as we can. Stay tuned. I think we've got a couple more things that we're going to be working on.
It'll be something interesting to follow in the days ahead. Now let's check in with Drew at Brookings Liquor Store. Some delicious new beers on tap ready for your growler, including a couple of South Dakota brews.
From Minor Brewing Company out of the Black Hills, it's Old Winter Ale, 20 cents an ounce. This is your last chance to get in on the goodness that is winter seasonals. It's a touch more bitter than I thought it was going to be, which is good for me. Notes of cocoa, coffee, and dark fruit. The next one I have is from Sturgis. It's the Knuckle, White Knuckle Pale Ale, 15 cents an ounce. It's well balanced between hops and malts with flavors of grapefruit, mango, and pine. Good drinkability. The last one, new on tap, is from New Holland Brewing. It's Monkey King Saison, 18 cents an ounce. It's lighter and easy drinking for the style.
New packaged beers at Brookings Liquor Store include a couple of limited releases from Odell. Ask about Barrel Thief and The Meddler. Finally today, coming March 19th to Wooden Legs, the third annual Irish Breakfast.
That's our favorite event of the year. Follow us on Facebook. We put all the details out. But for anybody that has not been to an Irish breakfast before, it is a full Irish breakfast. We've got eggs and white pudding and black pudding and rashers. We've got bangers. We've got mushrooms. We've got tomatoes. It's a good time. We expect a record crowd again this year. Every year's got a little bit bigger. What we have done is we've actually offered some pre-sale tickets to our Tap Handle Club members, but we're giving that an early riser, a half an hour early for all the Tap Handle Club members to come in and grab the food early, and then general public will open up a half an hour later.
If you're not familiar with an Irish breakfast, very meat-centric.
very, very, very protein-heavy, and there's a lot of butter involved.
It's fabulous. Oh, the Irish breakfast at Wooden Legs, absolutely wonderful. We'll see you there. That's it for Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.